Good morning. Welcome to Temple Time. Welcome to Temple Time. Hey, Kate. My audio is not picking. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see your face this morning. We're answering some questions once I get my audio switched over. There we go. All righty. I love it. I love it. Gotta love it, hey? Gotta love it. All righty. So, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about today? I have a few, there was a few questions about the aura. When I pick up my phone, the audio switches over. All right. So annoying. So think about your questions. I'm going to look in the chats in a moment. I'm just swapping my audio over because the AirPods are just, I've got two phones. Every time I pick one up, it just switches over. So I'm not playing that game today. Just not playing. Don't want to play. I don't want to play. So I'm going old school. Tethered. All right. So hopefully you can hear me all right. And if you can't, let me know. Earthing. We talked about earthing yesterday. We talked about electrically earthing. We talked about grounding. We talked about, what else did we talk about? Were you here yesterday? We talked about, oh my goodness, it was a long one. We're not going to go that long today, but you never know with me, although I do have classes today, so I have to stop at some time. We were talking about attachment, trauma. We were talking about, oh, and welcome, Kate, by the way. Woohoo! Excited that you're going to walk with us on this journey. So we're a bit earlier today because it works a little bit better for me today and tomorrow because I have some clients afterwards. So we're a little bit earlier today. I think 9:30 for me is good for the European people as well because it's their evening, but also for the Americas. Australia, it's a little early. It's about 5:30 in the morning. So if you're up, good morning. Okay, everyone's still sleeping. Where are you? All right, I guess I'll talk to myself until people come on. Let me just see if there's anyone in Spirit Whisperer. Who's there in Spirit Whisperer? Where are you? Are you having lunch? You're good old school, Kate. All right. You're talking to me, Kate. Yay. It'll just be me and you. What do you want to know about? Hey, no one else is talking to me. What do you want to know about? What are we going to talk about today? Did I just lose you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Then get rid of that. We could go over. So were you on the challenge, Kate? I think you were because I saw you. That's right. I remember seeing your face. I remember speaking to you. I speak to so many people, but I remember you. I remember you. And we talked about animals as well. We talked about the Mingmen point, didn't we? The Mingmen point. And that ancestral chi. And I guess when we're talking about, you know, when you're struggling in the day, like I woke up heavy today, sleepy and heavy. because the weather impacts me. It's raining here. I love the rain. I love all weather, right? But it does shift and change me. And I know when there's going to be a storm because I feel it. I feel heavier. It's hard to describe. It's just heavier. It's not bad. It's just heavy. And I go, storms are coming, right? There's a shift in the ions of the atmosphere that impact humans. And I've talked about this before, but for those of you that haven't heard, we have the positive and the negative ions, right? And the negative ions make you grumpy or crotchety, as my mum would say. Are you crotchety today? What's going on? Right. So what's it like where you are? Is it raining? Is it cold? Is there a shift in big shift in the season? So a lot of wind yesterday and windy and rainy today here. And I feel it. It's not good or bad. It just is different. So I'm about teaching you how to notice how you are in the world and not only consciously shift and consciously interact with others. So shift for yourself in relationship with self, or just consciously even understanding what those shifts are, right? So rather than going, oh, I'm sick, right? Oh, there's something coming in. So it's cold, very cold and snowing. See, I don't know. I've only been to the snow. I was in Arizona or Flagstaff. That's Arizona. Sort of all that area years ago, and it was snowing, and I was so excited because it's the first time I've really been in snow. I mean, in Australia, there's snow, but you know, it's not like you live in it or are staying in it unless you go to the, you know, the mountains and take a holiday, right? Go skiing. I'm not a skier. So if we were driving through from Melbourne to Sydney and it was snowing in this one point along, you know, where people go to ski, we would get out and play in the snow for a bit. So that's all I know about snow, right? Not a lot. So I remember when I was in Flagstaff, it was Flagstaff. Anyway, I met up with some friends and we had to walk in the snow, and I had boots on and I was slipping around like I was ice skating. And one of the ladies taught me how to walk in snow. She said, walk like a penguin. Walk like a penguin. And I did, and it worked, and I didn't fall over. It was literally, anyway, so you're probably not interested in my stories about walking like a penguin. I'm just settling in to see what's coming in, and I'm still feeling into it. I could talk about a million things, but I'm sort of feeling in. What do you need today? Somebody asked about the aura yesterday. I don't think she's here today. So we touched on the grounding and earthing yesterday and polarity, and that does impact the aura. We talked about, you know, when we leave the earth, like going into an aeroplane, not death necessarily, but you know, that too, when we leave the earth, that the aura, you know, compacts around the body. So maybe just tune into where your field is. Let's do the gong to start. But as we do this, feel in. We're going to double it up. I want you to just feel. You can use your hands or you can use your intention to feel where your field is, where, you know, to the edge of your field. So generally we like it to be near the ends of your fingers. When you put your hands out, near the ends of your fingers. Now, the aura can shrink, like I said, and we can test it to see where it's up to. It might be up to the wrists or the elbow, right? It's come in, or it may be way out. So we did touch on when it's way out and it's disconnected, right? It disconnects from the chest, from the thymus, higher soul heart. It will tend to disconnect here. So I taught about doing a slow figure 8 or an infinity on the chest. So if you feel, I should have got you to feel it first, but you know, sometimes when you're really disconnected from your field and you just slowly do this, it can help you to be, well, connected more. Because if your field's so far out and it's looking for danger way out there, then, you know, you're not as protected here if there's a disconnection, right? So that's why we're doing that. So I'm going to get the gong and I'm going to ring it 3 times. What I want you to do while I'm doing that is just allow yourself to listen to it. But as you do, sort of feel around with your hands what your field feels like, right? What your field feels like. And whatever that is perfectly fine. What's your field feel like? Okay. So what did you experience of your field? And were you able to notice any shift in just connecting to an aspect of yourself? You felt a little different. You might feel a little calmer, a little more present. The gong helps with that too. That's why I do it. So put in the chat how you felt. Electric light, sending out electricity. Then I got very excited. Okay. So there's many layers to the aura, to your field, right? And in different modalities, we call them different things. Most people have heard of the aura, right? I tend to say field, but then I have different fields that I talk about, so it can get confusing. We can also say, you know, the spiritual bodies and how the spiritual bodies work. But there's 10 spiritual bodies, and there's 7 layers to the aura in those, you know, modalities, right? There's all these different modalities that talk about the energy in different ways. Majority of them overlap fairly well. So whatever you believe, whatever you connect with is perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you to shift or change, but when I share, you can just add in your salt and pepper to it, your spice, or your secret sauce, right? But if we were to go with, for instance, the layers of the aura, because somebody asked specifically about the aura yesterday, and I think I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it was something like, how does the aura impact, or can we impact the aura? Something like that. I'm not sure. She's not here. And I don't have the questions right in front of me. So what I'm going to do is just touch on a few pieces of the aura that come in. And what I was thinking about this morning was the layers. So there are 7 layers to the finger. You know, we can measure the 7 via our arm, right? But they can go further out, and they can come further in. But if you were to, so this is an experiment. I'm a social scientist at heart, right? And how we get to understand how energy works for us and what our energy is doing is to be curious about it and say, all right, well, there are ways of testing the aura, but I don't want to do a whole class on how to test energy right now. So then how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? And this is a way to start tapping into your intuition just through what you sense. Now, if you don't sense anything, awesome. And if you do, awesome. It's neither here nor there, it just is. What's your sensory system doing, and what can you pick up? Now, if you don't, and this is what I've learned through teaching intuitive studies for years, is that if we don't have these little experiments, so we have core curriculum, right? But if we don't have little experiments or ways for you to see what you see, meaning using all your sensory system, what you experience, then how will you ever know? So many of you go through the world thinking, oh, it's only special people can do this, that, and the other, purely because no one's shown you, or you've never tried. Am I right? Or you trip over it somehow in a you know, maybe your spiritual emergence, and then it all sort of goes and you freak out a little bit, and some of you, you know, you're in bliss for a while, but then you start to spin out around, you know, all the information that's coming in and you don't know what to do with it. Am I right? Or not? So feel into sitting gently, just sitting with yourself. And you can put your arms out if you need reference, but feel into each layer of the aura. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like just feel into each layer and ask it, how you doing? So I'm going to do it with you, right? And it doesn't matter whether you go from the fingertips in or the you know, closer to the body, out. It doesn't matter if you get the numbers mixed up. All we're doing is practicing connecting to our energy, which is an aspect of the human. It's an aspect of you. There's no separation. It actually goes into the body and further out of the body, but we can get a general understanding of how you are in this field just by connecting into it. This may be a little bit, you know, feel like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just want you to feel with all your senses. So go, okay, we're in layer 1. And just with your intention, go, hey, layer 1 of my aura, how are you? And just notice what you feel in the body, what you sense, what you see, what you hear, what happens. And then go to layer 2. Hey, layer 2, what's happening with you? Is there something you want me to know? How can you communicate with me today? And just notice. It's very subtle. It may be so subtle that it's just like someone just gently touching you. So when I link into 2, it gets very light. When I linked into 1, I felt it in my Mingmen point in my back. So there's a difference. I'm going to go to layer 3. Breathe into that. Hey, layer 3, how are you? And remember, it goes all the way around you. All the way to the sides and all the way around you, this layer of energy. And layer 4. And you can spend as much time as you like. I'm just going through. Layer 4. Hey, layer 4. And layer 5. So again, layer 5 has a lot more information for me today. I don't need to know anything more about it. I'm just listening with all my sensory system, being conscious, being intimate with that part of yourself. And then layer 6. What's going on with layer 6? How are you today? It's interesting, I got to layer 6 and I'm swinging on my chair. It's like there's some movement that wants to happen for layer 6. You know, just noticing what you do, how you are when you connect to a piece of yourself that you're not used to possibly connecting with. And then layer 7. How's layer 7? And now while you're there, I'm going to teach you something that you may not know about, even if you do know about the aura. I want you to bring your awareness, you can use your hands if you like, to the membrane of the aura, the outer edge of your field. And you can move around. I'm on a swingy stool, so I can just move around in a whole circle right around and up, and don't forget all the way down under the feet. Some people call it a spacesuit, but it's not. It's so much more than that. It's your environment that you're within and moves out around you. And it can go so far, but just feel. So take a moment. This is more of a meditation. You're feeling this membrane. If you didn't know you had a membrane, to this energy, I want you to introduce yourself as if it doesn't know who you are. But it does. But you're creating a relationship. Hey membrane. Wow, this is cool. How are you? Nice to meet you. Or nice to see you again if you've already met it. What's going on with you? Let me feel how you are. And just notice what the sensation is, what it feels like even to touch if you have that sense. What color it is, what texture it is. Whether it is, someone said earlier, it was electric light, but is this part of the aura electric? Is it dense? Is it thin? Is it solid? Is it transparent, opaque? Does it feel rough, smooth? Is it jelly-like? Does it have, like, what is this part of the field like? No judgment, it just is. It's like when you meet somebody, they are. You don't go, oh, I don't like what you look like or what you're wearing or what you feel like. Start having this non-judgmental relationship with yourself, which includes your energy, your physical and your energy. There's no separation. I don't know how you can separate the two. It's like yin and yang. We're trying to separate the fear from the love. Good luck. Good luck with that. Let me know how you go. Let me know how you go with that. Somebody that has done it or feels they've addressed their fear, let's come and have a chat and we'll see, right? Because you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. You are love and fear. You are love and fear. And while we still continue to disregard and disrespect one whole half of ourself, you're half a system. You're half a body. You're half of your electrical system. You're literally half, right? So to become complete, we need a relationship with all of ourself, the love and the fear. And when they merge and have that intimate relationship and you sit in that neutrality, you reach purity of love, which is the purity of unconditional love, which is all of it, beyond it. So you no longer sit in just the love or the fear. The love at that level is not the purity of unconditional love. It's it's the polarity of what we experience here. Really, it's not even love and fear. It's a positive and negative charge. The magnet has a right one or the other. So what makes one better than the other? Or what makes a masculine better than a feminine, or the feminine better than a masculine? Because we're both within us. It's not male and female, it's masculine and feminine. And they're levels of masculine and feminine. So this is the spiritual development of understanding in intuitive studies, right? We look at and we work with and we have an intimate connection with these levels of ourself, which connect to soul and then soul into spirit. So when we're only having partial relationship, think about your personal relationships with other people just as a sample. It's not about judging it. It's about reflecting and viewing it in full responsibility, right? So as a scientist, okay, you're going to just look at a relationship, just choose one, anyone, and reflect on how you are in that relationship, how they are in that relationship, based on the masculine and the feminine, the inner and the outer, the water and the fire, the hot and the cold, the north and the south, the blue and the red, the in and the out, the what else? We go on and on and on. Magnetic and electric. And when you're connecting with another person, or this person in mind, how intimate is the connection? So I talk about intimacy all the time, and I'm sure that some people think, oh, you're only intimate with people that you're going to have a sexual relationship with. Intimacy is where you are, it's a conscious relationship. You are conscious. So when you're speaking, you're connecting, you're conscious of the words that you're speaking, you're conscious of how your energy is impacting, how you're receiving, right? Why? So with animals, for instance, unless you have a fear of particular animals or an allergy or something like that, right? But most people, animals are very healing, and one of the reasons why, when you pat an animal, so particularly, I'm going to talk about dogs, particularly a dog, right? But when you pat animals, they have a charge that's released that makes you feel better. There's science to it, right? So we pat the animal and we think, oh, it's the animal. It's the energy of the animal. There's a charge that's discharged as we pat the animal. So I don't know about fish and birds, but I know with fur animals, right? Cats and dogs and llamas and horses. So those animals, we say, you know, it's unconditional, right? But purely because of where their consciousness is, or what their role is in the world, you know. So anyway, I was going to go into something, but I'm not going there today. So when we're connecting with another mammal, aka human, we're from the animal world, and we generally approach with fear. So let me break down fear for you. So when I say fear, people will say, oh, I'm not scared. So let me break it down, because when I started looking at it in this way, it just made it much easier to understand the energy and how we are in the world. So when I turn up to speak with you, or just say I meet you for coffee or whatever, there's probably a handful of fears that are just in getting in the car to get to you. Right? It doesn't mean I'm terrified or my life is at risk. That's not, like, that's the building on the shock, stress, terror, torture, trauma. So I feel that people mistake our general everyday fear, right? Because it's just life and we're conditioned in it. The air we breathe, the land we walk on is all part of it. So what you're going to have, like if you ask a question, what am I going to have for breakfast? There's a fear there. What am I going to have for breakfast? Do you get what? It's that subtle. When you start thinking, I'm having a conversation with somebody else and they have fears and I have fears just in a general conversation. It may be, what are we going to do? Did they understand me? I'm not talking about terror or shock or like, scared, right? That there's a subtle level of frequency that is going through your systems constantly. Anything that the nervous system is picking up. When we went into the aura, did you feel anything? Did you sense anything? Right? If you did, there's fear. The nervous system's picking up what's in the environment that could possibly hurt you. So it goes negative mind, positive mind, neutral mind. So the 2, 3, 4 in the numbers. Someone was asking me about the numbers the other day, the spiritual body and the numbers. So number 1 is dropping in incarnation. Right? So into the incarnation, right? And then we go, oh, number 2, where am I? What am I doing? I'm in separation now to some degree. Number 2, 1, 2, there's a separation. Fear. Then we go into number 3, which is positive mind, which is also looking around to go, you know, what's a yes, what's a no, how am I navigating the fear? So we got fear, then we have the love, and the neutral mind, which is at the 4 in the body here, the heart, is the unconditional. So what people are feeling that love isn't actually what I'm talking about as love. It's purely the positive and negative of coming into the world and looking around and the nervous system keeping you safe. We've got different arms of the nervous system. We've also got our physiological nervous system and our energetic nervous system and how they work together. So understanding that, so this is how Eric and I work, individually and together, okay, in our work in the world, how we are in the world. That when I feel something in my body, I go, oh, there's fear here. And we connect with it, just like I did with, very similar, but there are many, many different ways of doing that. And those of you in the Relevate program, I'll be teaching you in depth how to touch in to discharge the fear that's held in the body. Now, we were talking about this last night on the couch watching the sunset. That's how we work, right? Our life is our work. And I talked about, and I believe you were there, Kate. I'm not sure who else was there, if there's a few people watching on different platforms. But I mentioned that when we cut ourselves, when we hurt ourselves, right? So I won't go into the numbers of it, but in a nutshell, just to make it simple, when our thumb or our hand, our skin is a certain voltage, right? Millivoltage, or milli, let's just call it millivoltage, right? I was going to say millihertz. And I believe it is that, but just say it's 20, because it's 20 millivolts, right? And if I cut it, it'll go lower. To heal it, I need to bring more voltage. So that's the physical. And that's for everything physical, right? We need to bring more charge, more voltage to heal a physical wound. And I was contemplating this when I was doing the challenge, the Relevate challenge, Regulate to Elevate, in how I was sharing that information. And last night we were going a bit deeper into that. But what I want to share with you again is just that your body, your system is so intelligent. It's trying so very beautifully to get you back into homeostasis, right? So when something happens and you feel it in the body, so for instance, I'm playing softball or baseball and the ball's coming for my head and I go to duck, but I'm too late and it smacks me in the head and maybe even knocks me out. Okay? So that movement, it might be an arm movement or it might be in my back. It might be in my knee. So the ball's hit me in the head, so there's an injury, right? But where the charge is that's held, that hasn't been discharged, is in the body, something to do with that movement. Get me? So that movement, I've got my knees, my hips, my back, my arm. So when we go in, and we will, those of you that are journeying with us, this is what we're going to be looking at, but specifically for you. And we'll do it in small group so that I can guide you and mentor you, right? So that you can go deeper than you can go on your own. Because you can't find this on your own. It's really difficult. You can do so much, but it is really difficult to go into your own terror, not necessarily terror, but your own pain or your own emotion and what needs to be released from that incident. Because the incident isn't the issue, it's what happened in your body that's the issue. And that goes for trauma as well. Trauma isn't the experience out there, it's what happened. What happened for you in your system. And whether you recover well or not depends largely, and the research shows this, but I see it. I've seen it, for the 30 odd years that I've been working, professionally with humans and these systems. It's like how you are wired, which goes back to early childhood, family, school, peers, grandparents, culture, your belief systems, so religion or, cultural beliefs and systems, right? You're wired in a particular way, which is neither good or bad. It's just understanding that. And so why does somebody go through one experience and you've got even your siblings, you all grew up with the same parents. Well, sometimes, maybe a half sibling, whatever. Anyway, you know what I mean. In the same environment, same parents, some of you. And some of you come out with real difficulties and some of you don't. Why? So we look at that specifically for you, but within the group. If you want to do it one-to-one with me, contact me. We can do one-to-one work. But I'm sharing it in groups so that the container, because we know that community is a huge part of recovery. Doing it together, right? It's a huge part of recovery. It's like seeing that you're not alone. You're not a weirdo, or you're not just something wrong with you. You're not broken, right? No one's broken. If you understand the system, you'll see how beautiful it is and how it works magnificently for you, for what you went through. You know, in sensory motor work, we call it organicity, which means the intelligence of the system. Organicity, it's a beautiful word. I love it. It reminds me of how intelligent our systems are, and that when we are conscious and touch in, the intelligence of that system will regenerate what it needs. It will tell you. It won't tell you in, you know, beautiful sentences in English or whatever language you speak, Italian or whatever, right? It will tell you in its language through the body and its systems. And what I will share with you is how to translate that and how to get the messages that you need from your system and how you understand it. I'm not going to tell you what it means, because my meaning making will be different to yours, because I had different parents, different country, different culture, different experiences, different trauma, different terrors, different shock, different. My brain is wired different to yours. Again, I'm not better or worse. I just am me. You are you. So when we're trying to find a one-stop shop for everybody, like, really think about that. So when I teach programs, I teach them, you know, the same way, but at different levels. So depending where you're at, you'll get information. But because it's live and I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm guiding you, I know the work, I do it myself, I've had it done on me, right? And I teach it and do it for other people, right? So it's multiple perspectives, right? It's for me, it relates to that organicity. It's creating programs that have that organicity, right? You have the structure, but there's an aspect of it that has an intelligence of its own. And that lights me up, because I'm like, wow, there's room for what else? There's room for the curiosity, right? There's room for the curiosity. If you're a scientist and you go into the experiment knowing the answer, I was taught this in my 20s when I was, you know, starting out doing research and whatnot. And it'd be like, well, if you know the answer to the research, why are you doing the research? Because your hypothesis is not, this is what's going to happen. It's like, what would happen if we did this and this for that population? We can have an idea. So for instance, for you that are watching, I know from research, right, what happens in the nervous system, what happens in the physiology because of what happens in the nervous system, what happens in the energy system because of that, but also what happens in the physiology because of what happens in the energy, right? I know that. I know how what happens in the environment impacts all of those systems in specific ways. There's always curiosity to what else, right? I'm open to, oh, there's something else happening here. Let's look at that a little closer. Let's see what else. And Then we have all of you that come together. Now, coming together in a group shifts that energy, builds that container, which is exponentially powerful and healing. Some of you would have done, you know, because if you're on my channels, I'm assuming you know me and have done work with me in some capacity, right? We come together in group because that builds the container. So whatever we do in the group, it's exponential for everybody. If you did that work just on your own, it tends not to be as powerful. It just is. So this is why there's certain things that we do in group, certain things that we do one-to-one, certain things you do on your own. So when we bring in the techniques that are researched and have efficacy, they work. What we're doing is then bringing it to you, and it's like another, I was going to say, it's like another person. Like, we're bringing this piece to you to meet. Hey, how you doing? How are you going to interact with me and my system? What's happening for me when I go into it in this way? And we're intimately having a relationship with the process and intimately and consciously seeing what happens for you in your system. I'm just looking for any questions in the chats. Okay, got it? Are you excited? Those of you that are signed up? If you haven't signed up, why not? This is the lowest you're going to get it at ever. Ever, ever, ever. I'm actually losing money doing this. I'm not even covering my costs doing this. But it's so important to me to start off the container in this way. And having the energy, and people that maybe aren't able to support themselves financially, you know, it's still money. Money's money, right? But when we work with our fear, all the stuff that comes and spirals you into the shadow of the fear isn't going to be so prevalent. We work with our fears consciously. Then we work with our fears consciously and discharge them from our system, right? You cannot will it away. This is what we were talking about yesterday, because there's techniques that I've taught and Eric teaches, and they're a bit more advanced, really, where you, for instance, you might touch in, and, you know, quantum physics, right? Once you observe something, it changes. But with really, I'm going to say entrenched, it's like there's all these balls of electricity in you for every experience that wasn't fully expressed, either physically, emotionally, you know, on every level, where your perception was and is on that. Because we talked about the hippocampus. Did we talk about that yesterday? I know I talk about a lot of things every day, so. But when that stress response comes up, it shuts down, just for a certain amount of time, the hippocampus, which is in the limbic system, which is, I call it the fire alarm of, you know, the system, saying, hey, there's something going on, something going on, something going on. Well, that shuts down that part, and it doesn't integrate the memory of the situation. It doesn't pull in all the main, what I say, the main three aspects of that laying down of memory, which means you have the physical sensation, but you may not have the memory of it fully. You may not be able to, they're not together. So you've got jigsaw puzzle pieces over here and jigsaw puzzle pieces over here, but the jigsaw puzzles aren't complete because there's, you've got this one over here that's incomplete and this one over here that's incomplete. When you bring them all together, it's a full picture, right? You've got the emotion, the perspective, the felt sense, the moving of the energy, all of the bits, all the stuff, the action, body sensations, all of that in one picture. And when it's disjointed, it's not integrated, then you can have a thought or tell. So somebody yesterday asked, when somebody tells their trauma, or I think it was on the challenge, when somebody tells their trauma story and they have no real emotion on it or felt sense of it, and she was saying, is that? And I said it could be, but it also could be that they've worked it through, because if you ask me about my trauma stuff, I can talk about it and all the rest of it. But I've done like 30 or more than 30 years work. I've trained in many different trauma modalities and had my own work, because to do that work you have to train on each other. You have to do the work, and right. So you can, the point of me telling you that is that you can touch in with some modalities of, oh, I've got a pain, what's it doing, how's it moving in my body, and track it like that, right? And that can give you some relief. But it's not taking the deeper core charge out. So even in energy medicine, we say, there's lots of, the things that I teach you publicly, they're powerful and they will give you relief and help you regulate and whatnot. But if there's a deep core wounding or misalignment of the energy, it's going to come back. That is the part that needs to be worked on or worked with or have a relationship with. And the thing is that when you start to go towards that, the fear and all the barricades that we might have built over our lives, stop it. We can't even see it. We don't even know it's there. We just are bedazzled by all the, I call them spot fires. So the limbic, or the amygdala, and it's all going off. Fire, 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 right? Something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. And we go, oh, it's over there, it's over there, it's that person, it's this, it's that, it's that, and we're fighting fires. But the core of the bushfire is the core, right? So it keeps creating the spot fires, and you keep being distracted by the spot fires. So what I say is work with the spot fires and the core at the same time, right? For instance, if there's a lot of pain, if someone's got a lot of pain, we'll address that a little to just give a bit of relief. But what's causing the pain at a different level will help all sorts of systems. It's only one system that's saying, hey, fire alarm, there's something going on, fire, 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 right? So we can put the, it's like a stove fire. There might be some, a little spot fire on the floor, but the fire that's on the stove is reaching the ceiling and your whole house is going up and you're trying to put out this little spot fire on the floor. That's what I'm talking about. So, how's that relevant to you? I'm not sure. You are human. I'm assuming you might identify as something else. That's perfectly fine. I'd be interested to know, where you're from, what language you speak. Do you understand what I'm saying? And how you found us here. The Relevate program starts in February, where we go into all of this work. primarily the body, the nervous system, and it's not necessarily the theory, it's the practicality of it, the experiential work. It's for you to see where and what's going on in your system and how you can move and shift it or have a relationship with it so that you can better understand what your systems need. It's not glamorous, right? It's not glamorous. But at this point in my life, I don't give a rat's about glamour. I want to do stuff that works. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's fun. Well, I don't care. It doesn't work. You're wasting your time. It's a spot fire. Stop putting out spot fires. You're wasting your energy on spot fires. And wake up one morning and you can't move. Right? Or your adrenals are so depleted, you know? So where are you in your health and wellness? Where are you in your spiritual development? Because if we're not, and I'm making these broad statements, I'm doing it consciously, right? Because I said yesterday I'm not going to tippy-toe around it anymore. I don't have, I don't have the patience, I don't have the time, and I'm not going to turn up for you to like me. You either need the work or you don't need the work. Right? I'm not here for entertainment. I'm here to show you, okay, these are the programs that we have at the moment. Relevate. They both start in February. We'll have the more advanced ones. They're not due for till the end of the year. So so we have Intuitive Studies program. That is the intermediary one, where if you want to do your spiritual development and learn about your sensitivities, although the Relevate one will tell you why, as the reason why you've got sensitivities is because your nervous system can't hold any more information. It's all data, it's all information, right? So when you stretch I call it, I've been saying, I've stretched my edge, my growth edge, right? And now I'm already at that next growth edge and I'm stretching it again, which just means that you feel it in your system because you go into the next place that has a lot of fear. But rather than going, oh, I'm feeling it or I'm experiencing it in a particular way, I better pull back, you go, oh, there's my growth edge. And what do I need to do at this level of my development? How do I look after myself, my system, right? Sorry, I just got a message that distracted me. See, a little fire over there. Right? So, wherever you are in your world, it really is what prevents you from continuing. It's not pushing through like boom, boom, boom. But it also isn't working from your emotions either. I said that yesterday. Not making decisions based on your emotions. If I had of, I would have stayed in bed this morning. I was tired. I woke up tired. I do wake up early though. Just saying. I do wake up early. But I woke up tired this morning and I was like, I could smell the rain coming and I could feel it. I'm like, it's raining. It wasn't raining. But in my mind, it was raining because I could smell it. And lo and behold, within about half an hour, it started to rain. I was like, yeah, told you, I could feel it. Right? My body could feel it. It's called a build-up, where there's a lot of negative ions just before it rains. And I experienced that, a lot just before storms and whatnot. Everybody does, but some people are more sensitive to it, right? So now that you're conscious of it, maybe you'll start noticing that for yourself. My dad used to do it when I was a kid, and I used to think he was magic. I was like, oh, my dad's so magic, and he's a really tall, big man, right? I'd be like, ah, oh, my dad's so magic. And he would read the weather, and he would, read the stars and the moon, and all this sort of could tell, navigate by all of it as well. This amazing creature. Until I joined the army and learned that it was a particular type of navigation and all the rest of it. I learned that too. But he would just baffle us with his genius. Anyway. All right, so where are you at? Where are you at? Are there any questions? No questions today. Everyone's quiet. You're feeling the negative ions of the weather here through the technology into your room. So those of you that are coming along with Relevate, I look forward to journeying with you and guiding you and mentoring you and being curious in how you feel and sense and know your own body at that intimacy, connecting consciously to what's going on and what maybe you split in consciousness. So giving you ways to integrate that back so that you have the whole jigsaw puzzle piece, so you can see the picture, and then, I was going to say release, I guess that's the word, release, have a relationship with the whole picture, not just an aspect of it. Because at the moment, if this is happening, and it's, it's a large percentage of the population. It's a large percentage of the population. It's like 45% of the population have some form of, nervous system impact from early childhood. Like I was saying in the challenges, 55% have secure attachment last I looked, which means that they were wired in a particular way that their emotions aren't, they're able to work with the fear that comes up and not project it onto other people. And we do it all the time. You could be the most awesome human, and you will still at some point project your fear onto another person and be totally unconscious of it. And you may do it with humor. Like, so when I started looking at my, because I'm just constantly telling jokes, right? But a lot of it is fear. When I started to be conscious of it, a lot of it is fear, and we discharge it through our humor. I see it all the time, particularly when I'm working with somebody and they come out of what's going on and make something funny. It's them, they're regulating their system to make themselves feel better, which is a way of self-soothing, and regulating themselves. This is why I'm saying it's difficult to do it on your own, because when you touch in and I just keep bringing you back, you have to go deeper. Now, it's not in force, and it is gently, and it is building that relationship, right? However, when you're on your own, we will unconsciously bring ourselves out, because our system will want us to feel okay. But when we start going deep and touching in, right, there's another intelligence that comes in that it will keep you safe, but will also touch into the pieces that need to be touched and loved and healed and acknowledged and integrated and processed, right? So hopefully that makes some sense. So I'll put the link in for you to, if you want to call with me to ask some questions, or if you would like to just sign up, we start in February. And so I'm just putting it in the Facebook group. There you go. So if you've got questions, you don't know if it's going to work for you, or that you've got some fear that's coming up, because you will. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course you'll have fear. You're doing something new. Anything new that you do, anything different that you do, there will be fear. It will just be, you will just feel it in your nervous system. And when you, I have a new coach myself, right? And she's feisty. But when I signed that contract to work with her, I was shaking. I felt sick and I was shaking. And I knew she's the right one for me. Right? She's the right one for me. She teaches people how to speak on stages in a particular way. So you know what that means? I have to go and speak in front of people. So next week, in fact, I will be on stages talking to people, right? Refining that. Why is that important to my journey? Because I'm here to start the ministry, the movement of purity of unconditional love, which means I got to get out there and start speaking in public, not on screens, right? And I used to do that years ago. I love it, in fact, because I like interacting with people. I like to bring you up. I could show you this stuff in real time, right? But there's another part of what I do, which is teaching about the mother and how to bring that aspect of the energy into you, to work through you, the blue, right? So that's not a program. That's not a program, that's a movement in the world. So my point of telling you that is that I felt sick. And rather than going, oh, it mustn't be meant to be, I was like, yes, there you go. I'm shaking in my boots. So the vision is big enough. If the vision's not big enough, there'll be no fear there. It's like, oh yeah. And most things are like that for me, oh yeah. Because, you know, I've done a lot. I've been around for a while. I'm used to being vulnerable. I'm used to telling stories about my life and the stupid things I've done and the awesome things I've done, right? So where's my growth edge? I need to find the next growth edge, and I found it. So that's what I'm sharing with you. Right? That shaking and that feeling like, holy, you know what, right? That's a good feeling. It not motivates. Well, it motivates, but it's like there's another word for that, right? It means I can't sit on my backside because I've signed up for something that won't allow me to sit on my backside and cruise through life. Life's too short. It's over in a blink of the eye, right? So what does your soul want to experience? And if it's something that scares the pants off you, awesome. So let's work on that so that it doesn't, your fear, that charge that's there somewhere in you, I'm assuming, if you're here listening, right, something's resonating. What's holding you back? What stops you when you reach out, right? It's the fear. So many entrepreneurs, they tell me, you know, okay, they know what they're doing and all the rest of it, but then they can't get clients, or they can't reach out, or they can't ask people, or they can't make an offer or whatever. Why? Because they're scared. What are they scared of? It's numerous things, but in the main, when they reach out, that they'll be rejected or they'll be judged. That doesn't come from right now. That comes from way back. It's in you. And you can release that. You can find where it is and release it. Release the charge on it. So the next time you reach out, it's not the same story. It's not wired the same. There's a restoring of it. Anyway, we've been going for a long time. I don't know. We just get going and I keep going. All right. I think I'll leave on that. So intuitive studies is your spiritual development. If you want to learn how to touch into, the intuition that's in that intermediary part. Relevate will get you in touch with majority of what I've talked about today, right? And it's more that gut intuition going into building relationships with the physical and energetics on what's holding you back, right? Releasing the charge that's held that you might not even know you have it. You may have physical aches and pains and all sorts of symptoms, all sorts of spot fires. And they're coming from how you see yourself, how you've been wired, how you've been conditioned and encoded. And there's no factual memory on that. It's all encoded. It's all before you had full memory laying down, right? Now, it could be because other things have happened as you're going through life. It could be, you've had a few horrific relationships or things happen along the way, right? But how you've dealt with those often, not always, but there's a big often, comes from how you were encoded in those really early times of your life, which you won't have full consciousness of. Okay, so we can touch in and bring the consciousness of those, and it will come through the body. It will come through the emotions, right? It'll feel a little uncomfortable at times, but it's not for long. And once you've got it, you move it through. That's it. Pretty much. That's it. So I'll leave you with that. I'll see you tomorrow around about the same time, same bat channel. If you've got any questions or you want to know about something else, I'm not sure what we'll tap into tomorrow, just see what comes up. I might give you some techniques tomorrow. We'll see. All right, think about your questions, and until we meet again, may the blessings be. Much love. Enjoy your day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.